It's 11:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in March, and you're sitting in a coffee shop in Austin that smells like burnt espresso and old leather. Your name is Marcus Cole. You make $84,000 a year at a mid-sized SaaS company called Lattice Point. You've been there for years. And right now, your phone is buzzing on the table next to your cortado. And you're watching 3 Slack notifications arrive in the time it takes you to read this sentence. You answer messages within 12 minutes. You always have. Your manager, Diane, used the word reliable about you in your last 3 performance reviews. She said it the way people say fine, not great, not bad, just predictable. You didn't take it as a warning, you took it as a compliment. Because in the language of corporate America, reliable means safe, means steady, means no one has to worry about you. You believed that. You worked from that belief every day for 4 years. You logged in at 7:40, you left at 6:50. You made sure everyone saw you in every meeting, every stand-up, every Slack thread that mattered. You were the model employee. And then, at 2:15 p.m., on a Friday in June, you opened an email that said your role had been eliminated. You opened it in your car in the parking garage on Lavaca Street. The engine was still running. You read it twice. Then you sat there with your hands on the steering wheel and felt something land in your stomach like a stone dropped from a height you couldn't see. You have $11,400 in checking. You have $3,200 in a 401k you haven't looked at since you set it up 3 years ago. Rent is due in 9 days. You have no offer. You have no plan. And you realize slowly that you are going to have to walk back into that building in 3 days and look people in the eye. People who did less than you. People who left at 5 o'clock. People whose Slack status was set to away by 5:30 every single day. Those people are still employed. They got the email that said thank you for your continued contribution. You're sitting in your car and they're still in the building. And that right there is the moment your entire understanding of work begins to crack. Level 1, the illusion of being seen. Marcus, before you go home, before you open your laptop, before you start applying to jobs you don't want, I need you to understand what just happened to you. Because what happened was not what you think happened. You were not laid off because you weren't good enough. You were not laid off because the company couldn't afford you. You were laid off because you were replaceable. You were replaceable because the work you were doing was visible work. The kind that looks like work. The kind that shows up in calendars and Slack threads and stand-up attendance. The kind that gets noticed by people like Diane, who use words like reliable to describe someone they don't have to think about. And here is the thing you have to sit with. Visibility is the most replaceable thing in the workforce. Anyone can be visible. Anyone can show up. Anyone can answer messages in 12 minutes and leave at 6:50. Diane can hire someone next week to do exactly what you did, and they will. Because the work you did, the visible work, did not produce anything that couldn't be reproduced by a warm body sitting in a chair. The work that survives a layoff is the work that's invisible. The work that's structurally important. The work that, if removed, would break something the company couldn't easily explain. That's the work that nobody sees. It's the work the lazy people are doing. Level 2, the cost of being busy. You're home now. You're sitting at your kitchen table. 7:48 p.m. The cortado from the coffee shop is gone. The email is still open on your laptop, and you keep scrolling back up to make sure you read it right. You did. The language was polite. The way a knife wrapped in cloth is polite. It still cuts. You start doing math, the kind of math you never had to do when you were employed. You add up your savings. $14,600. That's it. It's everything. For years of $84,000 a year, and you have $14,600, you can actually touch. The average American saves about 4.5% of their income, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You saved less. You saved about 1.1%. And you didn't do that because you were careless. You did it because you were busy. Because the work that looked like work was eating the work that built wealth, according to a 2024 Microsoft Work Trend Index. The average employee spends 57% of their day on communication and only 43% on actual creation. That's not a typo.
Ow.
More than half of what gets called work, the performance, is what gets noticed. The creation is what gets measured when someone asks, What did you actually produce this quarter? And for most people, the answer is uncomfortable, because what they produced was presence. They were present in meetings, present in Slack threads, present in stand-ups. They were present everywhere, except in the actual output the company was paying them to produce. Marcus, you sat in 1,440 hours of meetings last year. At your hourly rate of $40.38, that's $58,147 of labor that didn't create value. That's not what you made. That's what you lost. That's the cost of being visible. Level 3, the architecture of strategic idleness. 2 weeks later, you're at a bar in East Austin with a guy you used to work with. His name is Devon Hartwell. He still works at Lattice Point. He didn't get laid off. Sits across from you drinking a mezcal neat, and he's trying not to say anything stupid, because he knows you just lost your job, and he's one of the people who didn't. You ask him how he survived. He says something that doesn't sound like anything. He says, I just do the work that matters. You press him. What does that mean? He tells you about his calendar. He has on every single day of the week, 2 distinct zones. From 8 o'clock to 11:30 in the morning, his calendar is locked. No meetings, no Slack notifications. He puts his phone in a drawer. He does the work. The actual work. The work that only he knows how to do. Then from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, he handles everything else. Meetings, email, the visible work that the rest of the company sees. He says he built that system in his first 3 months at Lattice Point. He says nobody asked him to. Just noticed that every time he got pulled into a meeting that didn't need him, every time he answered a Slack message right away, the actual work he was supposed to be doing got pushed to the end of the day, and then it didn't get done, so he stopped letting it get pushed. He wrote a list of things he wouldn't do, not things he'd prefer not to do, things he would not do. He wouldn't attend the weekly all-hands if his team wasn't presenting. He wouldn't respond to Slack messages between 8 and 11:30. He wouldn't take meetings that didn't have a pre-circulated agenda. He wrote this list down, taped it to the bottom of his keyboard, and then he lived by it for 4 years. Every week, Devon is not smarter than you. Devon is not better at his job than you. Devon is not more talented. Devon is just doing the thing that looks like nothing, consistently, for years, while you were doing the thing that looks like everything. That's why Devon still has a job, and you don't. Level 4, the math nobody shows you. It's been 3 months since the layoff. You're working again. You took a contract role at a smaller company for $72,000. It's less money, but it's work. You sit down one Sunday morning in August with your laptop and a spreadsheet, and you do something you never did when you had the job. You calculate what the 4 years at Lattice Point actually cost you, not what you earned, what you lost. You pull up your calendar archive. You count the meetings. 1,873. You estimate the average meeting had 3 people who didn't need to be there. You were one of them 60% of the time. That's 1,124 hours of meetings that didn't require you. At your hourly rate, that's $45,395 of labor that produced no output the company could measure. Then you look at the Slack threads, the ones you monitored daily. The ones where you read every message and replied to half of them. You estimate you spent 45 minutes a day on Slack that wasn't about your work. That's 182 hours per year. So over 4 years, that's 728 hours. At your rate, $29,637, add them up. $74,032 of unpaid labor that you performed across 4 years that produced nothing. That's not a rounding error. That's an entire year of income you worked for and never received. And this is the calculation you did sitting at your kitchen table that changed everything. Because if you could have eliminated $74,000 of zero output work across 4 years, that's $18,500 per year. Compounded. For 30 years, that's $555,000 you didn't build. That's the cost of being visible. That's the cost of being busy. That's what the lazy person doesn't pay. Level 5. The version of you who survives the next 10 years. You start, slowly, building what Devon showed you. You block your mornings. You write a no list. You tape it to your monitor. The list has 11 things on it. Meetings without agendas. Slack messages between 9 and 12. Status update requests from people who don't need them. The weekly all hands. After 2 months, your manager, a woman named Renee, asks you why your Slack status is always away in the morning. You tell her you're doing focused work in the morning. She doesn't push. After 6 months, your manager says in a one-on-one, "I need to tell you something. You're the person on this team I would never let go." It's not because you're the smartest. It's because the work you do in the mornings, the thing no one sees, is the thing that makes everything else work. She doesn't know about the no list. She doesn't know about the calendar architecture. She just knows the output. The output is what she's defending. The output is the thing that can't be replaced. Marcus, you're 32 now. You've been at this new company for a year. You make $89,000. You saved $34,000 last year, which is more than you saved in the entire 4 years at Lattice Point. You didn't get there by working harder. You got there by working less, more deliberately, on the things only you could do. The rest of it, all of it, was always optional. You just didn't know it until you lost a job and had to find out the hard way. But the hard way worked. The hard way taught you the thing Devon knew at 28, the thing the truly lazy people figured out years ago, that the appearance of work is not the substance of work, that being seen is not the same as being valuable, that the most expensive thing you can do in any career is spend your hours on things that look like work but aren't. Level 6, the part nobody wants to hear. You get lunch with Diane 6 months after the layoff. She left Lattice Point too. She's at a new company now, smaller, less money. You sit across from her at a place on South Congress and you ask her why she laid you off. She looks uncomfortable. She says the company had to cut 40% of headcount and they kept the people whose work they couldn't replace. You ask her what that meant specifically. She hesitates. Then she says, "Marcus, you were great. You were there for everything. You were visible. But when we had to defend the budget, we couldn't point to anything you'd produce that we couldn't train someone else to do in 2 weeks. The people we kept, they had work that nobody else understood. They had systems only they could run. They had relationships with clients that we'd lose if we cut them. You were reliable." Reliable isn't the same as indispensable. I'm sorry. She is sorry. You can see it in her face. The apology doesn't change what happened. What happened was structural. You were cut because the work you did could be done by anyone. The work the survivors did could only be done by them. That's the difference. And the difference is not talent. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is not luck. The difference is that one group of people spent 4 years looking busy. The other group spent 4 years building something specific, something invisible, something the company couldn't afford to lose. And when the cuts came, the system did exactly what systems do. It kept the things it needed and discarded the things it didn't. You were discarded. They were kept. And the reason isn't effort. The reason is precision. The reason is the no list. The reason is the calendar architecture. The reason is the morning hours nobody saw. The reason is that the lazy people, the ones who left at 5 o'clock and didn't answer Slack on weekends, were doing the only work that mattered. They just didn't look like they were doing it.
Oh.
That's the whole trade. That's the answer to the question you asked when you were sitting in your car in the parking garage on Lavaca Street. The answer was always the same. The answer was always going to be the same. The lazy people never get fired because they understood before anyone else that work that looks like work is not the same as work that actually matters. They understood that visibility is replaceable. They understood that the most expensive thing you can do is spend your hours being seen instead of being useful. They figured this out years ago. You figured it out the hard way? And now, sitting across from Diane at a restaurant on South Congress, with her apology sitting between you like an uninvited guest, you understand the whole thing. You understand why Devon still has his job. You understand why you lost yours. You understand the trade. And you understand, with a small private relief, that you will never make the trade the wrong way again. Level 7, the math on the other side. You're 34 now. You've been at the new company for 3 years. You make $112,000. You've saved $128,000. You didn't do this by hustling. You didn't do this by waking up at 5 a.m. or reading more books or taking colder showers. You did this by eliminating every week for 3 years. The small acts of being visible that were eating the hours that mattered. You declined 217 meetings in 3 years. You automated 12 reports. You wrote templates for 9 processes that took other people's weeks. You documented every piece of work you did in writing in a way that anyone could pick up and understand. You built one relationship at work, the one that mattered, and you invested in it quietly. The numbers, when you add them up, are staggering. The 217 meetings you declined saved approximately 434 hours. That's your hourly rate. That's $21,700 of time you got back. The 12 reports you automated saved approximately 312 hours. That's $15,600. The 9 templates you wrote saved approximately 1,800 hours across your team. That's not your time, but it's the time you freed other people to spend on the work that mattered. And the documentation habit, the one that took 15 minutes at the end of every day, that habit is the reason your last performance review didn't have a single number you couldn't defend. It had every number you could. Devon, meanwhile, is still at lattice point. He still leaves at 5 o'clock. His Slack status is still away by 5:30. He still does the morning hours. He still has the no list taped to the bottom of his keyboard. He made $156,000 last year. He has $487,000 saved. Neither of you worked harder than the other. Neither of you is smarter. Neither of you is more talented. The difference is structural. The difference is that one of you understood early that being seen is not the same as being valuable. The other one learned it in a parking garage on a Friday in June, in a car with the engine running, reading an email twice. And once you learn it, the trade is clear. Trade has always been clear. Work that looks like work in exchange for the appearance of effort. Work that looks like nothing in exchange for the reality of value. The lazy people figured out early which side of the trade was the better one. The busy people are still figuring it out. You figured it out. That's the answer to the question. That's the answer to why the lazy people never get fired. They knew it before anyone explained it to them. You know it now. And the only thing left is whether you do something with it. Make the choice once. Make it small. Keep making it for the next 10 years. That's the only way it works. Quietly, without applause, for years, until the day you read an email that says thank you for your continued contribution. And you realize the email has your name on it, and you didn't get there by working harder. You got there by working less, more deliberately, on the things only you could do. The rest of it, all of it, was always optional. It just took you until now to know it.